Hello and welcome to CKE 10,001's gaming channel. In this video we'll be showcasing the Macross Delta Link deck profile. This deck profile actually was piloted by a Japanese player who topped the BCS Worlds in 2024. This is his same ratios that he has, and then I'll kind of let you know my thoughts on it after we go through the profile. So it runs 4 copies of Ultimate Songstress Mysterious Venus Mikumo. This card cannot side attack, but if all your characters are music or pilots, this gets 2000 power continuous. And at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, if all your characters are music or pilots, you can put the top card of your deck into your way room. If that card is level 2 or lower, this card gets the following ability until end of turn. When this card is frontal attacked, you can return this card to your hand. So this card helps you generate early advantage to get bodies to continuously attack, so that's really critical for this deck, as you need to play these 1/1 events that minus you 1, so you want to be able to plus early for free, and these zeros are one of those ways to get that early, so that's why you're running it at 4. 4 copies of this Brainstormer Super Dimension Witch Reina. It has 2 act effects. The second is the Brainstorm to salvage character, which is pretty normal, but the first effect is pretty unique, which is act, pay 1, rest this card. If your deck has 6 or more cards, put all cards except the bottom 5 cards of your deck into your waiting room. And if you have 4 or more climax cards with different card names in the waiting room, this card gets the following ability until end of turn. At the beginning of your Encore step, return all cards from your waiting room to your deck and shuffle your deck. If you have 3 or less climaxes with different card names in your waiting room, put this card into your clock, which is the downside. But usually, the way this deck is built, you usually get the free refresh effect. So that's why you're running 4, because it's critical to get this into play as soon as possible as well. Then running 4 copies of New Face and Ace, Freya, and Mikumo. It has 2 effects. The first is when this card is placed on stage from your hand, if you have another music or pilot character, you can choose one of the following effects and perform it. Look at top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 event from among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, put the rest in your waiting room. If you put 1 card in your hand, choose 1 card in your hand and put it in your waiting room. And then or you can choose the other option, which is when you can discard a card. If you do, choose the 1/1 event and salvage it. And then the second auto effect on the turn it's placed from hand, you can pay 1, discard a music or pilot character. If you do, look at top 3 cards, to choose 1 card from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. First effect helps you get the event. Second effect helps you also get the event or climax cards if you need it, a climax for your climax combo. So that's why we're running 4. 2 copies of Music is Hope Machina. On play, it's a Rico effect. Personally, I would up this to 3 copies, not stay at 2. Since you need to get specific zeros in your hand early, having this to get extra copies that die early is important. So I think this should be up to 3, but that's just personal opinion. And they were running 1 copy of Music of Stream Mikumo. During your turn, this card gets 1000 power, and it's a Ricky. You can choose the character from the waiting room to put it to your clock to search your deck for level 1 or lower. So it's a Ricky where you pay the cost from waiting room. Again, I would up this probably to 2 or 3. Running 1 of is kind of weird. Again, personal opinion. Running 2 copies of... They were running 2 copies of The Future Exists For Us, Valkyrie. On play, you can shuffle back 2 characters, and then this can side attack without penalty. And when this card attacks, choose one of your other music characters or pilot characters, and that character plus 15 power on turn. Useful power pump, and then the top effect helps you play around some weird mill backups. So this is an interesting idea. Might go reduce this to 1, and increase this by 1 to a 3rd Rico, and would probably take out this 0 to add another Ricky. That's personally what I would do. But anyways, we'll continue. This is during your turn, this gets 1000 power, so it's 3k. And when this card is placed on stage from your hand, look up to 3 cards from top of your deck, choose to 1 climax, roll them, reveal it to your opponent, put your hand, put the rest into the waiting room. So it helps you grab for a climax. And then the standby combo, at the beginning of your Encore step, if Jitterish Beginner is in your climax area, choose one of your characters in your waiting room, return to your hand. If you do, choose 1 card in your hand and put it into your waiting room, so a filtered effect. And then when your other music characters or pilot character is put in your waiting room, if this card is in your backstage, you can sacrifice it and resurrect the other character. So we'll probably remove this to add another Ricky and we'll probably remove one of this to add a Rico. Other than that, I think that's pretty much I would change for the zeros at least for now. And 4 copies of the Fly Wukure event, which is kind of key component of this deck. That's why we're running 4 copies of it. If you do not have like a music character or pilot character, this card cannot be played from your hand. But when you do want to activate it, you can choose one of the following effects and perform it. You can draw 1 card, or you can just put this card in your memory, which is a neg. That's why you want to plus early with that 0 for free. Continuous memory, if you have 2 or more Fly Wukure in your memory, this card gets -1 cost while in your hand. So once you have 2 in your memory, you can play the other 3rd and 4th copies for free. Has a continuous climax combo memory. If this card is in your memory and you have 2 or more copies of this in your memory, you may regard the card name of your climax with the Super Dimension Venus link in your climax area as the same card name as the climax with link Super Dimension Venus in your waiting room. So essentially, your climax card in your waiting room is treated the same as every climax in your... Sorry, the climax in your climax area is treated as every climax in your waiting room that have the Venus link trait. So that's kind of the mechanic of this deck, the link mechanic. So I think the first was kind of Bang Dream D4DJ to have it, and then the next set was Grisai Volume 2, but those sets were only in Japan, so this is technically the first English link deck. And 4 copies of Music is Life Kaname. During your turn, if you have another music or pilot character, this card gets plus 3000 power. With climax, it's 107k on attack. And when this card attacks, if you have the climax in your climax area, you can choose up to 1 cost 0 or lower character in your waiting room and put it to an open position to your stage. And you cannot perform 4 more attacks until end turn. So on attack, this calls another copy of itself. And then on attack, this would call a copy of the level 2 because the level 2 is cost 0. Oh, sorry about that. We'll just continue off at the level 1s. Running 2 copies of Youth Who Rides the Wind Hayate again. So 2 copies of this. It has a continuous assist effect. All your music or pilot characters in front of this card gets plus X power. X equals to the character's level times 500. And has the auto effect at the beginning of your climax phase. If you have 2 or more music characters or pilot characters, you can pay 1, pitch 2. If you do, this card gets the following ability until turn. If you do not have another another copy of this, you can perform the chosen climax after you have performed the chosen climax combo of your level 3, you can choose one of the effects that was not chosen and perform it. And when you trigger check a choice climax, you can pay 1 to draw a card. So pulls your choice climax out of your stock to draw a card. Then 2 one-ofs. Music is Spare Yami Makina. When the card is placed on stage from hand, you can choose 1 random card in your opponent's hand, reveal it, put it into their memory, and your opponent returns that card at the end of their next turn. And has a second effect where you can sack this to pump music or pilot character by 2500 power. And music is Desire Yami Reina. It has a Brainstorm effect to salvage and Brainstorm effect to rest 2 to deal X damage. And 2 copies of the level 2 Violet Noble Mikumo. On play, you can discard a card to salvage character, and then the second effect is activate. Put this card in the waiting room to choose one of your opponent's characters to return it to their hand. And then running 1 backup, which is Complaints Public Relations Mirage. When you use card's backup, you can pay 1, put a character from your stage in your waiting room. If you do, choose your opponent's characters, and that character has -1 soul, and it backs up for 2500 power. Then 3 copies of the level 2, that's cost 0, Forbidden Borderland Mikumo. If your deck has 5 or less cards, or if your waiting room has 2 or less climaxes, this gets -1 level in hand, and during your turn, this gets plus 6000 power. It has at the beginning of your encore step, if this card is in your center stage, and you have another character, and if there's no character facing this, or the character facing this is reversed, you can pay the cost, which is sacrifice the climax. If you do, choose 2 music characters or pilot characters in your waiting room, return them to your hand. So salvage 2. This is early play that heals, and it has power until end of opponent's next turn. And then for your level 3, I have 4 copies of To Sing is to Live, Freya, and Hayate. When this card attacks, if you have the climax in your climax area, choose one of the following effects and perform it. You draw up to 1 and put up to 1 card from the top of your clock into your waiting room. Your opponent chooses 2 climaxes in your waiting room, return all cards except for those 2 cards, and shuffles your deck. And this card gets 5,000 power. And then, or you can deal 2 damage to your opponent. You can do 2 of the 3 effects if you have level 1 in play. And then the last 8 cards are the climax cards. 2 copies of the level 1 choice climax, 2 copies of the level 2 choice climax combo, and then 1 copy of the finisher climax, that's also choice, and then a bunch of one-ofs, which is the standby for the 0, and then the doors that are just blank doors. Alright, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, check EncoreDecks.com and the link in the show to see an overview of this deck build.